this is one of those things in which, you can say a whole bunch of bad things about somebody to make them look bad. But most of the time, when you're dealing with certain people, they kind of make themselves look bad. You really don't have to really say too much to make them look bad. And Donald Sterling is one of those people in which you really don't have to say too much about him in order to make him look bad. It's almost like he's just making himself look bad. Now, he did a CNN interview with Anderson Cooper, right? And he basically buries Magic Johnson. I mean, he just goes in on him. He says a whole bunch of stuff that I'll get to in this video. But this video is almost like a retrospective point of view. Like, is this whole situation, a wake up call for us as American, or is this situation just another passing by of somebody that basically put their foot in their mouth and just can't remove it, even with surgery, even with 100 people pulling on it, even with 1,000 people pulling on that foot, you still can't take it out their mouth. But in this interview with Anderson Cooper, Donald Sterling basically says that Magic Johnson has AIDS. He doesn't have AIDS; he has HIV, which is just as bad. But I mean, there's a difference between the two. All right. He says, "quote To do what Magic did to get AIDS. I mean, come on. I mean, it's one of those. That's end quote. It's one of those things where you really don't have to bury this guy, man. He kind of does it himself. He goes on to say later on in the interview, Big Magic Johnson. What has he done? He's got AIDS. End quote. I mean, it's one of those things where you look at this guy and his body of work, and this guy is too old in his career, too old in his life to change. I'm a firm believer in that people can change, but Donald Sterling can't change. People like this can't change. You know what I'm saying? He goes on in the Anderson Cooper interview and says, quote, what kind of guy goes to every city and has sex with every girl? Question mark. Then he catches HIV. Is that someone you want to respect and tell our kids about? Question mark. I think he should be ashamed of himself. I think he should go into the background. End quote. I mean, he just goes straight in on Magic Johnson during this interview. Here goes another golden line that he said during the interview. He said, quote, but what does he do for black people? He doesn't do anything. End quote. Now, one of the things I'm gonna tell you like this. You know, I can't. If he's gonna ask that question of Magic Johnson, he needs to ask that question of Jackson Jackson. He needs to ask that question of y'all just seen the swerve. Y'all just seen that swerve, right? He needs to ask that question of Jesse Jackson. He needs to ask that same thing of Al Sharpton. I mean, don't single out Magic Johnson. You know what I'm saying? Just because the guy has HIV. And I can kind of understand his point of view about Magic Johnson. You know what I'm saying? Surprising a couple people. But then again, at the same time, it's like, he's not the right person to be calling out Magic Johnson. You understand what I'm trying to say? He's just not the right person. He's not the right person to be calling out, some of these black people or these black activists. You know what I'm saying? But somebody needs to call them out on some of the stuff that they've done. And he feels as though that he has a legitimate gripe, a legitimate beef towards Magic Johnson, and as to why he didn't want his girlfriend or mistress or side piece or hooker or whatever you want to call that chick, man. You know what I'm saying? His lap dog chick or whatever you want to call her. You know what I'm saying? He didn't want her associating with him. You know what I'm saying? In particular, and this basically set off a firestorm of emotion among people. And I question if people are really taking a look at this whole situation with Donald Sterling and the racist tag that this man has. Clearly, I mean, it's one of those things where you really don't completely know if this guy is a racist. You understand what I'm trying to say? But in the public perception, that's the way he comes off. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can sit there and say that maybe he just doesn't like Magic Johnson. Or maybe he just doesn't like people like Magic Johnson. Or maybe he doesn't like people that have HIV or diseases or whatever and how they got it. I mean, you can debate all that stuff, but at the end of the day, for all those people out there that's defending this guy, He is a public figure, or he was a public figure of a publicly traded, branded team. You cannot have those opinions. You cannot have those certain biases towards any kind of minority. It makes you look bad. It makes the people that you work for look bad. It makes the sponsors look bad. That's the reason why he was replaced as an owner of the Los Angeles Clippers. And his wife being a part of the organization, hey, hell, as long as we know, she's probably feels the same way he did. I mean, who knows? But at the same time, this is a real slippery slope. And when you're dealing with race, and when you're talking about, oh, this person is this, or oh, this person is that, it's just crazy. Like he basically, questions Magic Johnson's motivations towards black people and his good intentions towards black people. And I'm like, man, if you go, Magic Johnson is kind of the wrong guy to call out. You're gonna call out Magic Johnson, you might as well call out, Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you might as well just call them out too. He goes on in the interview and says, I think I have more of a plantation mentality then I think let me quote that again. He says, quote, I think you have more of a plantation mentality than I do. I think you're more of a racist than I am. He calls basically Anderson Cooper a racist, and I don't know if Anderson Cooper is a racist. I mean, I'm pretty sure that, bottom line at the end of the day, that everybody has some type of bias towards certain races and I mean, that's just human nature, man. At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Like I said in my other video, if you guys feel as though that racism doesn't exist in 2014, I want you to seriously slap the hell out of yourself. Like, I don't know what kind of world that people live in, or where you think that people are not going to like you just because of your skin tone. I mean, that's just it's always going to be that element there. Is it fair? No, it's never fair. But at the end of the day, that you folks have, people have to understand that Donald Sterling just can't change. That's just the way that he is. If you feel as though what he said is racist, I feel as though what he said was racially biased and very insensitive, given the fact that this guy was a public figure, the head of an organization, a publicly funded organization. And then on top of that, this guy's had, history of being this way. And this is something that this guy can't escape. Like I said, for all the people out there that feel as though that they need to defend this guy and say that, black people feel the same way about black people, that they don't want black people around. Okay, yeah, you have a point. But at the end of the day, black people ain't in the position that Donald Sterling is in. And, at the end of the day, it is what it is. So, what are you going to really say about that? But yeah, it's the WC. I'll try to link maybe the interview down below so y'all can take a look at it yourself. I'll try to quote some of the stuff that he said in in the interview down below so y'all can see what he had said during the interview. I'm assuming that a lot of y'all watched it if y'all watching this video by now, because I posted this video kind of late, so y'all had the chance to actually watch it. Go ahead, like, subscribe. Let me know how you guys feel about my opinions about this whole situation. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Yeah, it's the WC, man. World Championship breaking news. You don't need to dig a hole for Donald Sterling. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to dig a hole for him. He's doing that himself. That's just my opinion. I'm going for right now. Until next time. Peace.